Hello students, welcome back to class. In our previous class, we look at the topic popular participation. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the topic democracy. Democracy is a government by the people, as it was defined by Abraham Lincoln. Is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is a form of government in which the ultimate or supreme power is vested in the people, and this power is exercised directly by them or by their elected representatives in a free and fair election. Characteristics of democracy. 1 is popular sovereignty. This means that major national decisions or policies of the state are not in the hands of a class of persons but vested in all members of the community. What that connotes is that everyone in the community has some sort of power to exercise, and in their coming together they have more. Political equality. Each member of the community has the same opportunity as every other person in the formulation and execution of national policy. Popular consultation. This principle implies that officials of government should seek to know what policies the government wants to adopt. Also, public opinion is also sought when executing ongoing policies of the government. This enables the government to confirm public acceptance or rejection of its actions, policies, or inaction. Majority rule. This principle explains that no government decision should be made against the ultimate desire of the popular majority. It means that more opinion and options are available to policy formulation, and any decision to uphold a policy must be supported by the majority of the people. This implies that in a democratic state, one group should have its way and the other group will lose. Democracy therefore stands on the principle of majority rule and minority right to make their view known. What that means is that majorly is the one that rule in a democratic system, but that does not mean that the view of the minority should not be regarded. We'll now look at number 5 is the existence of political options. That is, there are more than one political party or candidate competing for the control of political power. Open competition. Political competition is open to all qualified individuals in the state. Competition should not be made secret but open to all. Periodic election. Elections should be held regularly or during a specific period of time. Where elections are periodically held, members of the electorate are given the opportunity to effect any necessary changes of leaders. Freedom of pressure group to operate. The joy of democracy is that groups within the system are free to operate and thus be able to influence government decisions. Examples of pressure groups are religious groups, ethnic groups, and associations. Respect for human rights. Human rights are basic freedom and principle. Privileges granted individuals within a state that make them feel significant and important. This includes the right to life, association, speech, movement. In all democratic states, these rights are protected by the state constitution and the coercive power of the state. The next one we look at here is decentralization of power. The power belief in democracy is that when political powers are consolidated and put at a center or in the hand of an individual or group, the tendency is to misuse such power. In order to prevent this in practice, the principle of separation of power and decentralization of authority is adopted. In general, respect for the principle of rule of law represents major features of democracy. Importance of democracy. These are: 1. Recognition of the duties of the government. In a democratic state, powers of the government are carefully written down in a constitution, and these serve as a check against possible abuse by those running the government. Respect for the rights of the people. Democratic administration respects the right of the people to do all things that are considered right under the constitution. This makes equality among the people possible. Promotion of the people's interest. In a democratic state, authority vested in the leader is considered a trust, and the only justification for the use of authority is to promote the general welfare and interest of the people. Promotion of the ideas of the state. Democracy encourages self-reliance, intelligence, initiative, and a sense of freedom through the involvement of the citizens in the running of government. Number 5 is provision for constitutional method of changing the leaders. One of the principles of democracy is the holding of periodic election. This election provides a peaceful means of changing government. We'll now look at problems of democracy. One of the problems is emphasis on quantity. Democracy places emphasis on quantity rather than quality. Democracy may result in the rule of ignorance. In other words, important decisions of the state may be made possible simply by a majority of ignorant people, as against decision of a few well-informed individuals. Number 2 is forcing the decision of leaders on people. Major decisions in the state are always the decision of the leaders forced on the people. What ordinary people do not do in practice is mere confirmation of what policies the leader want to use. Democracy as a capitalist principle. Democracy is regarded as capitalistic because government is always ruled by those who own property in the state. 4. Slow pace of decision making. Decision making in a democratic state demand adequate consultation of individual and group. This requirement takes a long time to meet. Consequently, the need to consult many interest groups when formulating government policies makes the decision making process very slow. Then we now look at problems of political apathy. People's political participation suggested by democratic principles requires intelligence, self-control, and conscience. But in practice, these qualities are scarce in many states. Some individuals, therefore, do not like to vote in election, nor stand as candidates or get involved in public issues. We now look at process of democracy. Democratic process involve the establishment and ruling of certain institutions. The processes are discussed below. 1 is establishment of political parties. Political parties are the organization formed by group or individual for the purpose of winning election and controlling government machinery. The next one we have there is election. Periodic elections are necessary ingredients of democratic rule. Consequently, the basic conditions necessary for holding free and fair election are an independent body to run election, acceptable rules of the game, a developed system of political parties, an independent judiciary to interpret electoral laws. These are processes that must be put in place for democracy to work well. responsible leadership and enlightened followership. That is number 3. Popular participation call for a well-informed and responsible leadership. It is possible. It also provides for ways by which leaders are controlled and made responsible to the people that elect them. For example, elected leaders can be recalled. Also, important national issues are expected to be approved or referred to the people for approval through the process of referendum. This is all we are going to take in this class. In our next class, we'll look at other topic. I'll see you in my next class.